Narp, come watch, it's time, set the clock. Hitting like Ray off the block. Feel like MJ with the rock. Home run like Sammy Sosa. 2 clutch last period. Get ready, set, go. This a NARP experience. It's a NARP experience. It's a NARP experience. It's a NARP experience. It's a NARP experience.
Welcome back to the NARP experiment. We've got some heavy news from today's NBA news circle, I should say. Some rumors about Andre Drummond possibly being shipped out of Cleveland. We thought it was inevitable about a month ago when Jared Allen was traded there. We already saw they were so stacked with bigs there in Cleveland. And Drummond is also on an expiring deal. So I know that's an intriguing asset for some teams to try and get off some money. But I know a lot of contenders are going to be looking at him. It's just a matter of what they can give up in order to get him. So we came out with 6 teams today. Typically we go anywhere from about 6 to 8 for you guys. And the first one up is the Portland Trailblazers. Dex, you put this one together. Talk to me. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, we'll just run through this one quick. I think this one's definitely not going to happen, if you ask me, because the Blazers don't have enough money to ship out to match Andre Drummond's big number, unless they package these 3 guys in this deal, with that being Rodney Hood, Nurkic, and Collins, and that's 2 bigs. Nurkic is obviously out. Collins is injury plagued his entire time in Portland. So it's not so much losing them, it's that you are relying on Cantor and Drummond to be your primary bigs. So I mean, if they want to try running that, I don't hate it. Obviously they're not attached to any of these guys, but the only other way to make a trade work, unless you did all 3 of these guys, would be for McCollum. And the reason that they could potentially do that would be that the Cavs would probably ship like Garland with Drummond and like a first rounder, maybe 2 for McCollum, because McCollum has 4 years left on his deal.
Right.
And Drummond only has this year.
Yeah.
So
I don't.
That would be the way to incentivize Portland into doing it, but this is the only other way they could do it. And we're doing the teams that were reported today that were interested.
Right.
And also Drummond isn't playing anymore. They've agreed to between the Cavs and him and his camp, they've agreed to just sit out games. And when that happens, trades follow very quickly, as what happened with Harden too.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I don't know if I like this for Portland anyways. I still, even though Nurkic and Collins and even Hood in that matter, have their injury woes, I still think it's just too much for Drummond. Like, I don't know, I like Nurkic's game better than Drummond's, and it's a much better deal. I mean, you're getting 1 more year on it, but it's for half the price. Zach Collins will go into restricted free agency, and even if you think there's something there, you could probably get him back for a good number because of his injury woes. Yeah. And then you still have Rodney Hood, who's on a good deal, playing good basketball since he's returned from his injury. So, honestly, I don't like it. And then if you were to go the McCollum route, I don't think Drummond's going to win any more games than McCollum does. So there's no point.
No,
there's no point in needing to do that. So, but I get where you'd have to go to make this deal work.
I think it's just the Blazers. Their interest in this would just be if they could do this and maybe get a pick too. I didn't put picks into this one because I wasn't. I mean, you could sit here and argue back and forth all day who should get the picks in this one, and it's all going to come down to how the front offices value them. But I would probably say that the Blazers would need like a second rounder in this, and the Cavs have several. So
right.
Maybe this sell just stems from the Blazers trying to shake it up. They're just trying to shake it up because what they've been doing hasn't been working. So that's all this would be.
Right.
But
all right, moving on to the next one. We've got the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Brooklyn Nets making a deal. So this one I came up with. It was tough to try and make this work without, Brooklyn having to include Joe Harris or Jeff Green even, because Jeff Green's played really good for them. I tried to find ways to do that for Cleveland. Just didn't come out with anything I liked on either end. So You got to include DeAndre Jordan. It's not a contract Cleveland wants, but they can find ways to flip it later on. You get Spencer Dinwiddie, who's on a torn ACL, but he has that player option. I know we've included him in deals in the past. I personally think he should opt into it to prove what he's worth again. I know he's getting a little older in age. He wants to opt out, look for his future. I don't know what exactly his market's going to be. So you take a chance with him. He'd be an awesome six-man behind Garland and Sexton. I mean, just think about that three-headed guard monster right there offensively. Be a lot of fun probably. And then Tyler Johnson for filler, and you throw in a second-round pick just because Drummond is that expiring deal. You don't know if Brooklyn can afford him. I mean, you would think they could. We would think Drummond's on his last big deal, but this is what I thought the pieces would be perfect for.
Yeah, I like that I mean, if Brooklyn is just going to go just play to your strengths route and just go all offense, then this is it. And he could play a little bit of defense. I don't know that he's much better than DeAndre Jordan.
Right.
In protecting the paint, but he's definitely a little bit better. He can do a little bit more with the ball. Not that you'd want him to do more with the ball.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the biggest knocks on him.
Thinking he's a playmaker when he's a center.
He tries to play make too much, which I think does have a lot to do with where he is, where he's at. His whole career, he's been on bad teams with where he's been the best player. So it's more of a seniority. He's been there the longest. He feels like he can do what he wants type of thing. And I feel like that's probably what's going on right now in Cleveland because Kevin Love's been out a lot. So he looks around the roster and he thinks this is my team, And it's hard. It's hard it's clearly just been hard to get him out of that mindset. But in Brooklyn, I think it'd be a good fit, and he would clearly have to just get out of that habit, and I think he probably would.
When he's playing with those three studs. I mean, it doesn't make sense.
If he can't, and he goes to play with them, and he's still like trying to do the same stuff, and they just can't make it work, then his career in the NBA might literally be over if he can't make that work.
No, it's not that bad.
It would. Yes, it would, 100%, because is a rebuilding team going to take him on? He's already been on 2 rebuilding teams, and they've had to ship him off for nothing.
I don't think he's getting paid, though, but I still think there's worse contracts out there than Andre Drummond.
Yeah, but where's he going to go? A contender? It'd have to be like a middling, like perpetually, like, I don't even know.
I'm sure there's a team out there.
Where's he going to go? If he can prove that he can't play on a contender, then a contender is not going to be like, let me get Andre Drummond after just seeing what he did with the Nets. Couldn't even take his role as just being a traditional big, and that's what he's going to be needed to be as.
Right.
And then all the teams that are rebuilding aren't going to be like, let me take Andre Drummond so he can come here and think he's a hot shot and just try to run the offense.
No, I'm sure there's a couple teams out there. I'm just not going to set name right off the bat, and you need to look at it, but I'm telling you, he's not going to just fall out of the league. He's still only like 27, 28 years old.
I wouldn't be surprised if he couldn't get a contract, and if he would, it'd have to be like a $3 million, like something like that. And at that point,
it doesn't matter. At that point,
somebody with his mentality isn't going to be. If you're paying him like $3 million, $4 million, $5 million, then he's going to think, oh, I got to prove myself, because if that would be the chain of events leading to this all happening in the first place, he'd be like, oh, I got to prove myself, and he'd go out there and do the same thing he did in Detroit and Cleveland. It's just not going to work.
That'd be the only chance he has. But all right, we're going to move on. We'll talk about Drummond's future later. Next up, got the Charlotte Hornets. Talk to me about this one.
So with this one, hold on, let's see. This was tough too, because the Hornets, unless they get rid of Terry Rozier, which I don't think they want to do right now, because I think that Terry Rozier, LaMelo Ball backcourt is really working for them, even better than they expected.
Yeah, it looks good. Both of them look good and comfortable. They're balling.
Yeah. They would have to get rid of both their bigs, because those are the only. It's much like the Blazers one, where this is their only way to
make the money
match
work.
Salary.
Yeah.
So it's Drummond for Bismack and Zeller. So they upgrade obviously there, and Malik Monk just throws in because also just to make the salary work. And then in this one, it's the Cavs also getting 2 second-rounders. And they're very late second-rounders, most likely. Brooklyn and Clippers, those will probably be like 28, 29, 27 picks.
Right.
and in the second round, so they'd be like 50s, 60s.
Yeah, not the
And
greatest picks. But they take a
yeah,
flyer
so
on Monk, though. I like that.
yeah, take a flyer on him. Biombo's just going to expire. Zeller's just going to expire. But they're getting 2 picks in the process, so.
I
And
think
even if
that's
they are really, maybe they use these to get something else. Maybe they just use the picks. You never know.
right. I like
No.
this. I like this deal for both sides. Honestly, it gets Cavs off
Yeah.
some money. I mean, Drummond's already going to be expiring, but it's just less off your cap. You take a flyer on Malik Monk, who'll be entering restricted free agency, and who knows? Maybe a new location. Sometimes that's what works for these guys. So maybe he just needs a new spot. And I think him as a 6-man to Garland and Sexton doesn't look too bad. Doesn't sound too bad. I think that'd be a nice young guard heavy backcourt. It'd kind of be fun to see possibly. So I don't mind this deal.
Yeah. And even if not, I mean, even if not, that's the reason that they're getting picks in this deal, because every other trade, you'd probably think that Drummond would be attached with picks because they just got him for a second rounder last year. That's all it took.
Yeah.
So you'd imagine that in order to get rid of him now, you'd probably have to give up picks.
Mm-hmm.
And in this one, they're not. They're actually getting 2. But they're late. They're really late. So you're basically just shipping off Drummond for 2 late second rounders, and you never know what you can do with those. You could flip those 2 for a better second round pick, something like that, and hit on something. So
Right.
they're basically just getting 2 picks, because I don't think any of those guys would stick around.
No, but I still don't think it's too bad.
And then I mean, on the Hornets side, they just get another better player. I mean, Zeller's been hurt for them. Biombo is absolutely atrocious. So
yeah, no, this doesn't
I
matter.
mean, you're just getting a better player. You're just trying to get better now, and I mean, I think it'd be fun. It'd be fun. It'd make them even more fun to watch.
Right.
Top 5, one of the funnest teams in the league to watch right now is the Hornets, and they're in a playoff team as of right now, and I think they'll end up the year being a playoff team, at least a play-in, and this makes them.
This would definitely make them a little better, a little bit better.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right, we got another East Coast team to check out. I came out with the Boston Celtics. We're sending Tristan Thompson, Marcus Smart, Semi Ojeleye to Cleveland. The Celtics are getting Drummond and Damian Dotson. I see that me and you both use Damian Dotson as filler for a couple of our trades. This one just made me think of what else could the Celtics get along with Drummond, because I still think the Celtics need more wing depth. As weird as it sounds, typically their wing depth is good, but it's a lot of young guys. Damian Dotson's actually 26. He's already in his 4th season or whatever. He's a decent pro, can play both sides of the ball, can shoot the 3. And if you're giving up Marcus Smart, who's your best defender, you better be getting something decent back on that end. Semi Ojeleye was filler. Tristan Thompson was just a big for a big. He heads back to Cleveland. I'm sure Cleveland will look to flip him. I'm sure they don't care for his services again, but who knows? Cleveland's playing really tough this year. Maybe Tristan works there for that price tag as opposed to what he was getting paid prior to on his last Cleveland deal. But this at least puts the Boston Celtics over the top with more athleticism at the position over Tristan Thompson, an expiring deal, and it keeps. I kept Tice in the deal as well, just so that the Celtics could have some sort of big who can stretch the floor. It would be tough to include Tice in this deal and not Thompson, only for that specific reason that they don't have another 5 that can really stretch the court and shoot the 3 ball like Tice can. So this at least gives the Celtics Tice to remain on the team, be a good backup. He plays hard on both ends. I think it's a pretty good deal for both sides. And then you get Marcus Smart in Cleveland, who can be your 6th man, or you want to have Garland come off the bench. He clearly can guard positions 1 through 3. And that's just a big addition for a young Cleveland team who's clearly got some ambitions of trying to be a playoff team sooner than later.
Yeah, I just don't think the Celtics should be trying to get Drummond right now. I don't think he really solves anything.
No.
I feel like they need more defense. They need more consistent guard play, and they need more shooting. So Drummond doesn't. This deal doesn't fix any of that for them. But the issue is, what do they give up for Drummond? Because they're reportedly interested. So, I mean, unless you're giving up Kemba, you have to do Tristan Thompson and Marcus Smart just to get the salary.
Just to get the salary work. That's the only reason I did that, because I figured Boston doesn't want to have to give up Kemba if they know they don't have to. And Drummond isn't worth that except for a clean cap sheet after this season.
Yeah, and even then, I don't even know what Kemba's worth right now. it's just a mess.
Yeah,
Trying to figure it out right now.
You wouldn't send Kemba to Cleveland either when there's already Sexton and Garland. Like, there's no point.
No.
You'd have
Maybe
to
the
include
next
a
few
third
weeks.
team.
Maybe the next few weeks will, if he doesn't get traded soon, which I feel like he will. That's why I feel like maybe the Celtics really won't be able to do it. And I feel like who else? The Blazers really just don't
Right, it'd just be really tough.
have it because it's just in the next few weeks it would just be super tough to make this work. So that's just
this one's a little tough too. I just don't know what Boston would truly need to give up.
That's the other thing I forgot to mention. The Blazers deal. Rodney Hood, he has an increase if he gets traded, and the Blazers are over the cap, and they used their bird rights to sign him over the cap, so they couldn't do this trade until March 3rd, which is like 2 weeks from now, almost 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So they'd have to wait. So I don't know how long Drummond's just going to be sitting there not playing.
Right.
You know, I don't think it's going to be almost a month.
No.
So I feel like maybe those two are probably less likely, but even if
it's even more likely that Drummond just gets bought out.
I just don't think the Celtics. I just don't. Yeah, I feel like the only shot Celtics would have is if Drummond got bought out. I just
That's
don't
what I'm
think
saying. Like,
trading for him is because they just don't have the anything. Anybody that makes enough money isn't worth it. It's not worth giving up Marcus Smart for 2 years for half a year of Drummond when he's not really going to solve anything for you.
Right.
And your weaknesses are still going to be your same weaknesses. So I don't think that's something they should do. But I mean, if they did, this is what it would look like.
Right.
Unless
I was
they
going to say
just
there's no
did
other
Kemba,
pieces.
and if they just did Kemba, that'd be. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised because Kemba has a couple years left. He's underperformed for them. Maybe they just want to get some flexibility going forward with Tatum and Brown. That'd be the reason they would do just a Kemba. One with Kemba. Same thing with the Blazers. If they just did a CJ McCollum, it's just to get flexibility going forward.
Right.
Which isn't the worst thing to have.
No, it's not.
I mean, honestly, it's just there's no way to know. You're still losing the trade if you do that, unless the flexibility. Because this all season, it's not the superstar off season it once was.
No. So a lot of people are tapped out, and it wouldn't really matter at this point. No, I mean the Cavs and the Celtics would just have to get a third team involved. I just don't see Kemba going to Cleveland. That's just how it would look like. So this is the best they would have to do, and it still doesn't look that good. But those are the holes they would have to try and fill with that. So, all right, we're on to our last one. We've got a goodie here. This is a 3-teamer between the Raptors and Clippers. Decker, you orchestrated this one. We got a lot of people involved. Talk to me.
Yeah, this one actually has. This is the last two teams that were in the report by Amico Hoops on Twitter for interest in Drummond, and unfortunately, this one doesn't have him going to the Clippers, and I don't know why they'd be interested in him either.
I don't know if they think he would just be an upgrade to Zubac, but
exactly.
I don't know.
Makes like $7 million a year. Hell no.
Right, his cap sheet looks way better. Drummond,
I don't understand, man. I don't understand. Maybe some of that stuff's just.
But if you look at, you want to go ahead and break down the players, but I was going to say at least the Clippers in this deal get Lowry. But go ahead and break down the players going where.
Yeah. So in this one, this is just 3-way. Drummond ends up going to the Raptors, and basically it's the Cavs get the scraps. Drummond goes to the Raptors, and the Clippers get Kyle Lowry. So it's Patrick Beverley, Patrick Patterson, Aaron Baines, who's been a huge disappointment this year, and Luke Kennard, who's on a 5-year deal now, to the Cavs. So they're getting a couple of years out of Beverly, a couple of years out of Baines, and several years out of Kennard and Aaron Baines probably would fit them a little better.
I was going to say, I don't mind those pieces going to Cleveland right there. I mean, if they're a team really on the outside looking in, just trying to make a run, you get Patrick Beverley as your backup point guard, who just comes in and gets feisty. Yeah, and then Luke Kennard.
And you could pair him with either or.
Right.
Either Garland or Sexton. You could run two of the two.
Right. You can even have a lineup of Kennard, Bev, and one of those two Sexland guys. Shout out to the Sexland. I mean, you could throw out those types of lineups. That wouldn't be better than Aaron Baines to stretch the floor. It doesn't look too bad for Cleveland.
I feel like Cleveland also their thing is that they got to get off that Love contract if they want to do anything in the next couple of years anyway. So that's a whole nother problem in itself.
Yeah.
But so they're getting a couple of quality role players on some decent contracts.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy. They obviously wouldn't get any picks in this. The Raptors are getting Lou Will, who's expiring.
Mm-hmm.
And he's returning to Toronto. Andre Drummond, obviously, because they want to upgrade their center position. And they'd also be getting Dellavedova to help make up for
Lowry loss. Okay. I like
some
that.
of that Lowry loss handling the ball. And
Right.
I don't know that if he'd go there, maybe they'd call up Malachi Flynn.
Yeah, I was going to say they have some young guys.
So maybe not, but even then that helps the Raptors because if they are going to just try to go all in, like they're not really going all in, but it's like a last shot type of year, and this is their only way to get Drummond. If they don't have another shot, then I don't think this is horrible for them because maybe Fred slides in as point guard and you play Fred and Lou Will, or Lou Will just comes off the bench and.
Right.
I mean, maybe you start. I sure hope you're not starting Dellavedova. He comes in the second unit.
No, Dellavedova's got to be part of the second unit. I would at least
don't know.
Look at Lou Will in the starting lineup, but Federico is just kind of small. But
I mean, if they want Drummond, you gotta pay to get him. And I mean, they're getting a lot in this for Lowry for 1 year, and he's selling his house. It's already on the market in Toronto.
Right.
Granted, they're not there right now. They're in Tampa, so it makes sense to sell it. But if he was going to re-sign, he wouldn't be selling his house. So obviously, Kyle Lowry is going elsewhere this year. So with that being said, you're going to try to get some assets going forward, and maybe they like the Drummond fit, and they'll re-sign him in Toronto. And maybe it's a better number, but maybe it fits. But all they need right now is their center position is not what it was with the loss of Gasol and Ibaka. So
yeah.
This fixes that for them. And then finally we get to the Clippers, and they're getting Kyle Lowry. They're getting the point guard that they wanted. We have another super team in LA.
And they're getting a good second
We have
rounder.
another super team in the league.
Yeah.
And they're getting a second rounder from Washington.
That's a good second rounder. Because
they're giving up Lou Will. They're giving up Patrick Beverly. They're giving up Patrick Patterson, and they're giving up Luke Kennard. That's 4 guys who would have played for them in the playoffs.
Right.
Guaranteed at least 3 of them.
Right.
I don't know how much they would Patterson and Kennard would play, but they would be getting run in the playoffs.
Yeah,
they would be getting important minutes. Even if it's 15 a game for Patterson, all these guys would be playing.
Yeah, and I mean
all those guys, and they are all Patrick Beverly's 2 years, Patterson's 1, but Kennard's for 5, and you're just giving him up. They could hang on to him easily, and you don't know what kind of asset he'd be worth in the future.
Right, and
saying 4 years, he's saying 4 or 5 years, he's not one of the top 15 shooting guards in the league, shooting 40% from 3 because he's looked great this year. So this is why the Clippers would be getting a second round pick from the Cavs to Washington second in 22, which figures to be a good second.
But the Clippers also finally get their point guard that they've been looking for forever. And even if it's 1 year of Kyle Lowry and it's expiring, they'll take a look at it again. And if it goes well, you know what I mean? If it goes well, they're going to take a look at him and probably re-sign him. And Kyle's going to probably be fine with that.
LA.
And he's playing with Kawhi. Him and Kawhi won a chip together. I mean, these guys like to play with each other. And you know what I mean? That'd probably be the perfect fit for Kyle Lowry, to be honest. And I think he would flourish next side, him and PG. That would be a fun team, and that would give the Lakers at least a run for their money on the West Coast. So, but yeah, honestly, you put together a good one here. I think it's pretty even across the board. The Cavs get some decent role players for the foreseeable future. It can help them push into the playoffs. The Raptors, this will keep them remaining relevant, especially if they find a way to re-sign Drummond. But it's got to be a team-friendly deal. And we know about Lou Will in Toronto. The man won a couple six Man of the Year awards up there in Air Canada. So he knows a little bit about Canada. And like I said about the Clippers, this is perfect for them. They get their point guard they've been looking for. And Kyle Lowry, I think, still got another 3-4 years in him. Definitely, he's still playing productive basketball. So it'd be probably a win-win-win, to be honest. I mean, the Raptors, they're the iffiest ones to me out of all of it, just because all those deals are expiring. There's just not that big name this summer, so I don't know who they would use, their free agency money on at the moment. But it's honestly, if they were to re-sign those guys back, they could find a way to make a serviceable and still playoff-bound team.
Out of all these teams, which teams do you think have the most likely?
The best chance?
Most likely. Which teams do you think are most likely to land Drummond?
Out of all we did today,
I'll go first. I think it's the Hornets.
The Hornets, I think, honestly.
I think it's the Hornets, and it's potentially the Nets.
Yeah,
too. I mean,
the
that
Nets is the
that
one.
three team I like a lot for each side.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a lot of moving pieces. Obviously,
is.
there's no way in hell
If the Nets,
that's going to happen.
if the Cavs are fine with taking back DeAndre Jordan, the Nets have to find a way to make this work. I mean, you throw in Dinwiddie, shit, you can find a way to throw in more picks. It doesn't matter. You throw in DeAndre Jordan and Dinwiddie, find a way to match the salaries, you're good to go.
It's just for a lot of these other teams, I don't think Drummond has the same value. I just don't see Drummond being that fitting piece for the Celtics when they have to give up so much because his salary is so much that if you want to get him, you need to have a lot of filler. Whereas the Hornets, they have that. They have filler and Whitmack, Zeller, and Monk. They can throw all those guys in. Those guys aren't really anything to them. I mean, that's their two centers, but those guys are both not good. Zeller's hurt. He's not horrible. I don't hate Zeller. Actually, I like Zeller, but he's hurt, and he's not Drummond. So, whereas the rest of these deals, it's like the Raptors are losing Kyle Lowry. Is Lowry for Drummond really fair, and you're not even getting a pick, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like they would need a little more incentive there other than just the expirings, and I just don't know. There's not really a way to make that work around Drummond because the Cavs aren't going to want to give up like a future first just to get off Drummond, you know?
Yeah, no first should be involved for any deal for Andre Drummond, and that's why I think the Cavs getting 2 seconds looks good in their deal as well. So,
yeah, I think that's the most likely. I mean, there's probably a couple other teams around the league that'd be interested in getting a Drummond if they could. Honestly, my Mavs apparently.
Yeah, no,
my Mavs apparently are actually interested. I have seen so many Drummond to the Mavs ideas over the past 2 years.
We should have threw it in here.
You have no idea. You have no idea.
Should have threw it in here then. Should have came up with one real quick. I know you were fiending for it. But to me, I think personally, we're going to see Drummond in the buyout market. I just don't think any team's going to really be trying to give up assets. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I just think a team that wants him is just going to need a starting center who can rebound, and you're not going to want to give up much, so you need to give up expirings, that's exactly the Hornets deal.
Right.
So any team that could somehow do that, and none of these teams really can. I mean, the Nets do a little bit, the Hornets do a little bit, and the Blazers do a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's just those guys have a little bit more value. You know, Nurkic has a little bit more value, even though he's hurt, but when he's healthy, he's a little bit more value, especially when you combine that with the fact that Rodney Hood – for 2 years, you know, it's just hard to really match it. I mean, and even then, that one's closer than like let's say all these other ones.
No,
like,
I know.
If you're doing it, like I said, it's really hard to trade for Drummond as an expiring, as he's this very what's the word?
He's stat
polarizing.
filler. Yeah, he's
very polarizing.
He's stat
filler. You either love him or you hate him.
Right.
You don't know if he's going to change his ways. And he costs a lot, and he's only got 1 year, so it's super tough to match.
And he's not that good.
Salary.
And he's not that good for winning you games. He's just not.
For what he does right now, he's not that good. If he gets in the right situation, he starts playing basketball the way he should be playing basketball, winning basketball that he can play, which is rebounding and rebounding.
Right, and some more rebounding, maybe a few blocks.
Setting good screens, playing help D.
Diving to the floor quickly, being efficient around the rim.
These are things that Drummond can do. So
he's just got to find his way and understand his role.
I'm sure we're going to see this happen in the next week.
Next week or two, for sure.
Yeah.
Stay tuned, guys. We'll cover it at that point. But those are our Drummond mock trades. We will holler at y'all soon. Thanks for tuning in to the NARP experiment. Please hit a like and subscribe on your way out. We'll see you next game.
Home run like Sammy Sosa. 2 clutch last period. Get ready, set, go. This a NARP experience. It's a NARP experience. Said this a NARP experience. Said this a NARP experience. This a NARP experience.